Here at Tech Field Day, we do a lot of video production, and sometimes that means that we are bringing gear on the road. We actually have a couple of different road kits that we use for podcasting, for recording our Field Day sessions, and every year we have upgraded that equipment. We continually are buying new gear, new audio, new video, etc. Sometimes when we've done that, we've decided to share with the Gestalt IT audience and the broader YouTube audience what we think of this equipment. So today I'm going to be talking about a new acquisition. We just picked up some new cameras. This is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K. It is, as it says on the box, a 4K cinema camera. Now, for the last couple of years, we've actually been using these little Sony ZV1s. We absolutely love these guys. They are beautiful. They've got a nice sensor size. They've got a good zoom, and they are so small. It makes it a lot easier to carry them with you. The problem with these little guys is that they're maybe a little too small. They're a little limited in terms of size. They use a sub-sized HDMI port. You know, they're basically a kind of a real compact camera, not really what you want. The biggest problem with these, though, is because they're so small, even though they do record in 4K, they'll only record for a few minutes before they overheat and shut down. So we needed to do an upgrade, and of course, here's the upgrade. So today I'm going to unbox this Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K, and we'll take a look at what's in it. We'll discuss some of the pros and cons and features, and I'll let you know what I think of it. So first off, I should admit while I'm unboxing this that we already unboxed one of these. In fact, this video is being shot on this camera, not this camera, but you know, the same camera because we've already been using it for a little bit. And so that's given us a chance to actually get used to using it a little bit and gives me a little bit of more information on what to say about it. So first off, this is part of their Pocket cinema camera line. It says right there on the tin, Pocket. I'm not sure what size your pockets are, but as you're going to see in a minute, it's not exactly small. That being said, it's a lot smaller than the Studio series that they make, which is massive. This guy supports all the cool stuff. It's ProRes, Blackmagic RAW. You can use SD, XC2 or CFast 2.0 cards to record ProRes video in 4K up to 120 frames per second. So really great specs on this guy. Let's take a look at what's inside. So first off, top of the box, we have the battery. We have the international power adapters. It comes with power adapters for most countries, and a beautiful welcome booklet. There's some nice glossy materials that come with Blackmagic stuff. We also have the power adapter. I'm going to actually take a minute and point this out. It's a locking power adapter, so it doesn't come with that same 12-volt barrel connector power adapter that like everything in the universe uses. This one actually locks on, which is, you know, nice. Going underneath the styrofoam here, what do we got in here? We have the camera itself. So let's take a look. So this is the 4K Pocket Cinema Camera from Blackmagic. If you don't know, Blackmagic is really kind of a prosumer or consumer pro brand. They make great stuff, but it all is priced and built to come in below the cost of the pro stuff, which frankly I appreciate, because even though we are professionals, some of the pro stuff is just too much for even people like us. As you can see, the cinema camera, this is a nice, hefty, well-built device. Again, that's one of the best things about this. It has massive cooling, die-cast frame in here. So basically, this thing can record all day long. You're not going to overheat it. You're probably not going to break it. But again, to say that this is a pocket camera really stretches the imagination. So just to give you a sense of scale here, I'm going to move this stuff aside. Everybody knows how big this is. This is a standard 12-ounce US 355 milliliter can of Coke. Would you put that in your pocket? I think you'd have to have pretty big pockets. This one's way bigger. Again, this is the Sony ZV1, truly a pocket camera. Obviously, very different in size. Here's a regular iPhone 14 Pro. Again, you can kind of see this is a big honkin' camera. But, you know, kind of let's set that aside and take it for what it's worth, that this is a pocket camera. The other thing that is nice about this camera is that it has a micro four thirds lens mount. Now, I think most people watching this might be aware, but just to sum up, micro four thirds is a lens format that came out in the mirrorless camera market about 15 years ago. Essentially, Sony and the micro four thirds folks came out with cameras that don't use a prism like an SLR does. They basically mount a sensor right behind the lens that makes everything smaller. The sensor itself is somewhat smaller, but it's still pretty big. It's got about a 50% crop factor compared to a standard 35mm camera, which affects the level of the frame size depending on the lens you're using. But really, it's a pretty nice big sensor. And like I said, this guy's doing 4K native video all day long. It's got really great low light performance. It's got really great sensitivity, really great control. It's just a great overall sensor format. So if we take this off, you can see right in there, you can see the sensor right in there. Now, this may not shock you if you are a recent camera purchaser, but if you were from back in the day, being able to see the sensor and touch the sensor was a scary thing. Don't touch the sensor. That's actually a really nice thing too, because essentially what that means is that this camera can use pretty much any micro four thirds lens, and there are literally hundreds of lenses to choose from. If you want a big zoom, if you want a telephoto, if you want a pancake, if you want a fisheye, whatever it is that you need for your application, there's a lens for it. And the coolest thing too is that micro four thirds has been around long enough that you might even be able to get that lens on the used aisle, and that can save you a lot of money. So if you need a special lens for a special purpose, check that out. There's a good chance that you can find something that will work for you. Basically big or small. It's got a really nice grip on it. It reminds me of some of the nice digital SLRs out there in terms of both the size, the build quality, everything about it. In fact, I would say that this feels better than the build quality of some of the mainstream DSLRs out there. I feel like they did a really nice job. Again, I can't get over the fact that the cooling fins and everything on this thing, this addresses some of the overheating problems that we've been having for years using micro four thirds and APS-C cameras to do video work. I really think that this thing is going to rock it for us. On the back, we've got a big 5-inch touchscreen. Again, iPhone. This is the standard size iPhone Pro here. It's not quite iPhone size, but it's big. We've got some great controls on here. One of the things that Andrew behind the camera says that he likes is we've got function buttons that you can program to access different settings and functions very, very quickly and easily. There's 3 of those. We've got a dedicated ISO button. We've got a dedicated white balance button. Some of the things that impress me the most about using this camera are the solid feel overall, but the thing that really kills me after using a bunch of different SLRs over the years is the incredible responsiveness of the user interface. The software on this thing is like instant. It feels like a smartphone. I mean, you just tap, tap, tap right through it. It's just very, very easy. Just a lot of great features and accessibility here. Moving to the input and output side of the thing. Up top here, we've got basically a pair of regular headphone jacks. We've got microphone and headphone jack here on the top. Next, we've got, yes, thank you, a full-size HDMI cable. This has been such a nightmare working with some of these other cameras. You got to buy a special HDMI with like a mini or even a micro HDMI on the end. And those micros, oh God, they're so flimsy, they break. This is a big honkin' full-size HDMI. Love it. Next, we've got the power DC input here. Again, that's locking. We've got a USB-C port. Now you can actually record directly to a USB-C SSD, which is awesome. So if you want to have that be your workflow, that makes a lot of sense. In fact, most of the pros that I'm seeing these days are recording directly to outbound USB-C SSDs because they can easily switch them and have somebody, you know, archiving or working on the footage while you've got the next one plugged in here and ready to go. They're cheap, they're fast. If it breaks, you get a new one. It's not a big deal. The other thing we've got here is a XLR, mini XLR audio in port with a catch and release kind of system here. But I got to point something out about this. So first off, whenever I see an XLR, my first thought is, does it do phantom power? The answer is yes, this does 48 volt phantom power. Cool. My next one is it full size? The answer is no, obviously it's not full size because XLR is giant. But my next thing that I've got a question about is this one is female. And here's a Shure SM93, also female. And unfortunately, when it comes to audio and video gear, that's not gonna work. So I'm not exactly sure why they did this. I know that you can get male microphones. I know that you can get adapters and cables and stuff like that. I guess we're supposed to use a cable. I kind of just wish that it had been, you know, compatible. Whatever. So moving on to the other side, we've got the media adapter here. So here we've got space for a CFast 2.0 card. That's the latest version of Compact Flash. Useful for recording 4K, ProRes, 120 frame per second video. Those cards are still pretty widely available. We also have an SDXC2 capable port here, so you can use SDXC cards. Again, I think most people that are going to be doing pro workloads are going to be shooting directly to an external USB-C SSD, but that's right there. We also have the battery port, obviously. It's a nice big battery, lithium-ion battery pack. Says that it is 1940 mAh, so you know, almost 2 amp hours, which is good. It looks like the kind of battery that comes with some other cameras. I'm not sure which one it is, but I bet if you Google that, I bet it's actually somebody else's battery. All right, now let's take a look at some of the other features of the thing. On the bottom here, we've got a standard threaded connector to mount it on a tripod. I will say that this guy's a little heavier than, I don't know, this guy. So you might want to get a new tripod if you're going to be moving in this direction and throw your GorillaPod in the trash. We've also got a threaded mount on the top. There's a bunch of cages and accessories that people use with these things. We don't have a standard attachment for a flash or something like that, because this is a video camera, you know? I mean, we don't kind of need that. But it's interesting that they chose to forgo that. There's also a bunch of microphones and so on here, so that you could theoretically record audio directly to it. I think the only situation where somebody would do that is if it was reference audio that you wanted to match up in Final Cut or Premiere, because there's just no way. Sorry, I'm Mr. Microphone Designer. I'm not going to use the built-in mics. I'm going to use an outboard field recorder. That's just how we're going to do this. So anyway, that's the body. You might ask, okay, Stephen, what are you going to use as a lens? And for that, we went and looked up what our requirements were. We wanted a zoom lens. We wanted it to be compact. We wanted it to be reasonably fast in terms of aperture. And we wanted it to be fairly cheap and available. So I didn't want to be buying a $2,000 lens to attach to this thing because frankly, these things get a lot of use and a lot of wear and tear, and we didn't even need that. So what we ended up with was this guy. This is basically a kit lens from Olympus. It's the M.Zuiko. This guy is, as it says here, 14 to 42 millimeters. So it's a nice zoom range. Now, with the crop factor on an APS-C, I believe that that's basically the equivalent of 28 to 84 millimeters. Basically, this is the range that you would want to use to be shooting kind of indoor interview style videos. Again, we're using it right now on the camera that's shooting at me. It's reasonably fast, 3.5 to 5.6 aperture, which is, again, enough when we've got plenty of light around us. It's certainly not enough if you're going to be doing any kind of, crazy cinema kind of work. We're never going to do that. We need this thing to work all day long in a conference room, shooting people talking about technology. So anyway, that's what we've got here. So again, I'm going to unbox this little guy. Comes in a nice little box. This reminds me of every camera lens I've ever bought. We've got the inevitably folded up brochure and information that we're never going to look at. And at the bottom, sideways, yes, sideways in the box, we have the lens itself. So again, this is the Olympus kit lens. It is tiny. This is actually pocket size. I was actually using the Sony pancake zoom for my NEX7 over the weekend. This guy is so much smaller than the kit lens from Sony. It's pretty funny. But it's nice. Again, it basically does what you want and doesn't do what you don't want. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this on here. As you can see, we've got full control of our Micro Four Thirds lenses as well from this body, which is totally fantastic. There we go. Locks right in there. It does look a little silly to have such a small lens on such a large camera, but it's fine. It's enough. You're enough. Micro ZV1 lens, you're enough. And that's basically it. So we've got a whole kit right here. We could shoot video. Again, the nice thing is the body will talk to the lens. It'll control the lens. You want a different lens, you go buy a different lens. It's easy to swap them out. Very, very reliable. Again, we found these things to be just rock solid. And hopefully this will give us the kind of video footage that we need for field day. One of the things I should note too is that we're not actually producing 4K video. We're doing synthetic framing, synthetic angles with 4K video. So essentially what we do is we're going to take a 4K output from this camera of a few people at a conference table, and then we're going to make synthetic 1080p shots of different people at the table in Final Cut or Premiere. The other thing I would note is that there is some barrel distortion from the lenses. We haven't seen any vignetting from this little guy, which is great, but there is some barrel distortion, and that's easy enough to fix in pretty much any video editing application. And honestly, it looks brilliant. I mean, just ask yourself, does this video look good or does it not? That's what's coming out of this camera. In fact, maybe we'll post this one in 4K just so that you can see the quality of the lens and the shot. Ultimately, one of the challenges with this is, this is a pro camera. It's not going to record in efficient, consumer-friendly formats. ProRes is phenomenal, but it also uses up a lot of space. We have it set on the most friendly, lowest bit rate, most friendly profile, and we're getting about an hour on 100 gigs of storage, which is pretty economical when you're talking about 4K video, but not exactly when you're talking about consumer stuff. So we'll probably be doing some transcoding and re-recording of this video as well. But the bottom line is that this thing is all we could want and more from a video camera. We don't have to worry about it. We can have a couple of these in our road kit. We can shoot video all day long, and everything just sort of works. So again, that is what we've got here. This is the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema Camera 4K with the Olympus M.Zuiko 14-42 lens, and we are ready to shoot some Tech Field Day video. If you enjoyed this, or if you're wondering what I'm talking about with Tech Field Day, go to techfieldday.com. You can also see some more unboxings at the Gestalt IT video channel, but this is not really our thing. We do professional, high-tech industry videos of people talking about routers and switches and security and storage and so on. But it's cool to share what we found about this equipment. So thanks for watching. Again, I'm Stephen Foskett for Gestalt IT Tech Field Day, part of the Futurum group now. And you'll find me on social media at @sfoskett. If you have any questions or comments, I'd love to relay them through to the team here, video editors, producers, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what we got.